Hello. Do you want to know how to take any sample and turn it into something else, like a kick, a bass, pads, and so on? Well, in this video, we're going to look at 5 techniques to push your sound design skills in new directions. We're going to take this absolutely beautiful sound and turn it into something rather musical. So let's get into it. If we listen through to this sample again, near the end there is a small click sound. We can use this as the basis for making a kick. In other samples, just take a very small section of the sound and envelope shape it into a click sound. Next, we can pitch it down and envelope shape it further. Now the processing begins. First, we can use an EQ to isolate the lows. Bring in a drum bus to further push the low end. And some glue compression to push the transient a little and raise the amplitude. Next, more EQ. This time, again pushing the low end. Further glue compression. Add vocoder set to noise carrier, filter out the lows, reduce the release time, bring the dry wet down to around 50%. Let's bring in an OTT, mainly expanding the lows and mids. Another drum bus to further push the lows. A final shaping EQ. And a final glue compressor to bring the whole thing together. Let's hear a before and after. Different samples will require a different amount of processing, sometimes less, sometimes more, but the overall technique is very similar. Let's render the kick out and do a final envelope shaping. Nice. Let's take the main section of the sample and loop it to fill 1 bar. Let's add a frequency shifter and pitch the whole sample up a lot. Next, we can add a noise generator. And a high pass EQ to take out any low frequencies that we don't want. A final glue compressor with soft clip turned on to catch any spurious jumps in amplitude. Let's render this sample out to bake all the processing in. Now we can change the playback mode. Using the Beats algorithm, we can preserve 16th notes in one-shot mode and reduce the transient envelope. Different DAWs will have other ways of doing this. Now we have a hi-hat loop. Excellent. Going back to the original unedited sample, let's use an EQ to accentuate 440 Hz and fully pitch the sample using many duplicates of this EQ setting to taste, with a limiter at the end. We can then throw this in a sampler and make some further playback edits. I have made a full video just on this technique. Check it out if you want a deeper explanation of how to do this. Next we can add some chords. And further process with some effects like chorus, reverb, EQ, and some sidechain compression to work with our kick that we made. Cool. Let's throw the sample into a sampler and loop a point of it really quickly so we get an audible pitch. We can shape the sound further with some filtering and EQ. Let's add some notes in a lower octave. Now we have a bass line. Add a sidechain to work with the kick. A cool little instrumental is now forming. Quite. And one final technique. Using a synth like Vital, we can resynthesize the sample. Process it with filters and built-in effects in any way we like. Next, create a little MIDI loop with a melody line. And now we have a full ensemble of instruments made out of a fart. Isn't that fun? So there we have it. 5 techniques on how to process any sound into something musical. Depending on the sample you use, results will vary. But with a little bit of imagination, you can create some really cool sounds. I hope you found the techniques shown in this video useful, and that they spark some imagination for your own work. But as always, until next time, God bless and goodbye.